two devices. I just
That's,
took you off.
there we go. That always does it. That you get what is
Yeah,
called feedback, and you know, it's that screaming sound like a bunch of
yeah.
devils.
I just I have you on my laptop now. I did have you on my phone.
There we go. I feel much more comfortable
Go
on your
around.
laptop. There's more place for me to move around. The phone's kind of constricting. Okay. I'll just wait a couple more people coming in, and then we will get started.
Yeah, we got 8 in.
Okay, good morning, everybody. I'm going to start.
Good morning.
There may be more people who are coming in, but I'll let them in as they arrive. So we're kind of getting to the end of our session here, and there's enough in Windows, you know, to go on for another year on this. It's a very deep subject. It's kind of like the Bible. You know, you can skim through it and get the stories, or you can go deeper and understand things. So yeah, we kind of, you know, only have time to go over the top. But I hope that you'll be learning enough to get more use out of your computer. So we've spoken about the very useful feature called copying and pasting. I use it all the time. And then the most useful piece of software that Microsoft provides, which is the File Explorer. So all data, as we said, just to repeat, on your computer is kept in files, what are called files, and in files within folders. So you only really have to remember two things about how the information is stored somewhere in your computer, and the same applies on your phone, right? It doesn't matter where it is. That information is stored in folders, and a folder is exactly analogous to a manila folder that you put papers in. So you put a name on the folder, you might call it, you know, correspondence, or job details, or taxes, or whatever you want to call that folder, and inside you would put all the information. Bills, you might have a folder for bills, and then in the folder you'd put all the bills as they come in, and then you would take them out and put them somewhere else. So you can put files into folders, and you can take them out of folders and put them into other folders. The interesting thing, which is slightly different to the way it works in the physical world, in the physical world, a folder usually doesn't contain more folders. You don't sort of tend to put folders within folders. So you could also regard a folder as a drawer, you know, in a filing cabinet. And so you might have a drawer that's marked personal details or something. And then inside you'd have folder 1, folder 2, folder 3, folder 4. So a folder can also be somewhat like a filing cabinet, right? The beautiful thing on your Windows and on your computer is that you can have as many folders and as many drawers in your filing cabinet as you wish. And each folder has unlimited number of items you can put in it. So in a physical folder, you can't put 1,000 bills. It will overflow and everything will fall on the floor. You can have 1,000 files in a folder on your laptop or on your phone, no problem at all. Many as you like. So there are essentially no limits. Folders and files can have almost unlimited length of name. It's actually limited to about 128 characters, letters and numbers and commas and so forth, but that's effectively unlimited. So you can call a file anything you like. In the early days, when PCs first came out, file names were limited to a strange 8 characters. So you had to abbreviate. Now you can call it whatever you like. You know, letter to Dr. Smith on, you know, July 7, 2020. That's a perfectly good file name. And a folder name could be all the pictures of my grandchildren. That's a perfectly good file name as well, a folder name. And it can have spaces in to make it readable and so forth, okay? So we said that that icon that you'll see on your Windows desktop, it looks like a folder, is actually what is called the Windows Explorer. And Windows Explorer, it's not a very good name. It really says it's exploring. You can explore all your files. And so the important thing to remember is that the folders kind of look like a tree. So you've got your disk drive at the top. It's usually called the C drive, C as in cat, with a colon behind it. So C colon just means your main drive, your main disk storage, which either can be a physical rotating disk, as I explained last time, or it can be a solid state disk, which looks like a thumb drive, but except it's much bigger and it has a lot more space. Either of them, they work exactly the same. And File Explorer allows us to look at the tree. So imagine the top of the tree, so to speak. Imagine it's going sort of down like a hierarchy chart, you know, in a company. At the top, you've got the CEO. So right at the top here is C colon. And then under C colon could be any number. Just as a CEO can have any number of direct reports, you can have any number of folders. And you call them A, B, C, D, E, F, G, X, Y, Z, whatever you like. And then below that, each folder could contain another folder. So you might have a folder called taxes. And then below that, you might have a folder called taxes 2017, taxes 2018, taxes 2019, whatever you want. And then within each of those folders, there would be files. So within the file called taxes 2019 might be your 1040 for 2019 if you do have a tax return for 2019. Or if you have photos called family pictures, and then you might have, you know, family member A, family member B, your son, your daughter, whatever you like. So your daughter might be Mary, so Mary, and then under Mary could be either all the photos related to Mary or further subfolders for her children. So you could have Mary and then grandchild 1, grandchild 2, grandchild 3, you know, if that is the case. And then in each of those, you would put the photograph. You don't have to do that. If you wish, you can put all your photos in one place. Doesn't matter. Windows doesn't mind. But obviously, it's a lot easier to find things when they've been properly stored away. You know, you can store your papers on your desk in a big fat pile, and yeah, that works fine. But it's a little hard to find stuff and to arrange stuff in a logical sequence. When you have it in folders or in files, you decide how you want it to look. You can get as complicated as you like or as simple as you like. I tend not to go more than 2 levels. So the C drive, then the folders, maybe one more level of folders, and then the actual files. Because if you go too far down, it starts to get a little complicated. Okay, and I said to you, File Explorer shows you the entire, we call it the file tree. It looks like a tree. It's growing downwards, right? And you can create new folders. You can move files and folders around, and you can delete files and folders. So now what we started talking about last time was how to create a new folder. So here we are in File Explorer. So all I've done is I've clicked on Windows File Explorer, and you'll see it showing me we're on this PC. This tells you you're on your computer, but you could also be in the cloud, right? It doesn't have to be on this PC. You could be on Google Cloud, which is on somebody else's computer, but for the purpose of this PC, called local disk C colon. The disk is on this drive. Then next level down is a folder called Windows. And then below that, there's a folder called Cursors. So you have everybody has a folder. That's why I use this as an example. Everybody has a folder called Windows. Because Windows is where Microsoft puts all the Windows stuff, right? Like I said before, don't mess with it. You can look at it, but don't mess around with it, because, you know, that's like, you know, messing with the engine of your car if you're not an auto mechanic. You don't know what you're doing. And then below Windows, they've got a file called Cursors. So you can see you've gone C drive, Windows, Cursors, and then inside Cursors are a whole bunch of files, right? Here's a file, size3_il.cur. I don't know what the heck that is. It's not for me, it's for Microsoft to know about. It doesn't matter. But the only thing you need to know about files is all files have a period right at the end, a dot, and then usually a 3 or 4 character abbreviation, which tells you what kind of file it is. So .cur is a cursor file. So all the cursors, you know, the arrows, some big ones, small ones. Mine, you can see on the screen, mine is red, but yours might be black or white, transparent, all kinds of arrows, right? Don't mess with it. So that's the file. Now within this folder called Cursors, let's say I wish to create a new folder, or perhaps I'm in my folder called Taxes, and I've got taxes 2017, 2018, 2019, and I'm opening a new one for 2020, I want a subfolder called taxes 2020. So all we do is we have to bring up a little menu. And if you remember last time I said to you, the way you bring up a little, we call it a context menu. It's a menu that is in that context. It's where you are right now and will allow you to do something. And the way we always do that throughout Windows is we use the right mouse button. So this one over here, the one that you would use your middle finger on, not the one you use your first finger, but the middle finger, the right mouse button. If you click and hold down the right mouse button, a menu will pop up, and that will be true everywhere. Of course, in other places, it'll be a different menu. And that's a very clever idea Microsoft did. Instead of having these, menus all over that really, they used to be in the old days. It was all in one place, all at the top of the screen, and it was really confusing. Yeah, if you don't need a menu, it doesn't appear, but you can make it pop up at any time. So in the files, I right-click here, just do a right-click, and up pops this little menu, and you can see here it is, right? There it is, a little menu, and it's got a whole lot of options. View, how do you want to view this information? You can change it in different ways, doesn't matter. Sort by, you can sort the file names by date, by size, by name, and so on. If you don't specify that, they're automatically in alphabetic order, which is usually the best. But you could have them sorted by date, so the oldest files are at the top and the newest files are at the bottom, or the other way around, whatever you like, okay? Customize this folder. You can change the way the folder looks. I wouldn't waste much time doing that. So the only thing that's really useful is this one right at the bottom. I don't know why it isn't right at the top, which is new. And if you click on that, single left click, means I want that. This little tiny rectangle opens up and says folder. Normally there would be options there, but there's only one option. The only thing you can create is a new folder. And so if I click on that, right? So click on new, click on folder, and basically this will happen at the bottom of the page. So you see these files here, they're all .cur, they're cursor file. Here is a subdirectory. You can see it looks like a file folder called red cursors. That's, I got my red cursor, you can probably see it on the screen. And down at the bottom, it opens a folder. You can see the folder symbol, looks like a folder, and it gives it the name new folder, which isn't very useful. But what you're expected to do, you can see it's highlighted in blue. That's an invitation for you to type over that. If you forget to do that, it will call new folders, new folder 1, new folder 2, new folder 3. It'll do it for you. But of course, that's pretty useless because you will have, in 6 months' time, you'll have no idea what's in new folder 3, right? So give it a name. So you can type into that. Right on top of that, you can type in taxes 2019 or, photographs of my trip to California, or whatever you want to put in there, right? And you type anything you like, right? So what I did in this one, notice here, I've got some files. See, they've got a dot and 3 letters at the back. Doesn't matter what these are. These are not things we normally worry about. Normally, the only letters we like at the end, that's called the file extension. The only things that we need at the end are Word documents and stuff like that. But don't worry, this is just for example. So there's a subfolder here called red cursors. There's a subfolder called new folder. So I created a new folder and I forgot to type the name in. It'll be new folder. How do I correct the name? I simply right click on the name and that little box will pop up again and I can change its name from new folder to whatever it should be. Here I've created a folder called Benson Notes on Windows and a date. You can put the date in. The operating system is putting the date in anyway, so you don't really need it there, right? You see this? So this says this file was created at this time and on this date, right? So when you create your file, it will date it today and in the time that you actually created it. There it is. Just type in that new name. Names can be anything. So I said, you can have a name called The Story of My Life, Chapter 4, right? I'm writing a novel about my whole life, writing my autobiography, right? It could be, The Story of My Life, Chapter 4, okay. How do we change the name? As I just said, Normally you would change the new folder name, but maybe I want to change this name. I've misspelt it or something is wrong. So again, I want a little menu. What do I do to get the little menu? Who knows? How do I get that little menu to pop up?
Right click.
Right click, exactly. All I did was middle finger, right click on the right side of the mouse, on the right side, and the menu pops up. Now, one of the options is, because I'm actually on a folder, so it doesn't offer me the option of new folder. You see, that's why it's called a context menu. It changes depending on the context. So before, when I just opened the folder and said right click, it says one of the things you might want to do is create a new folder. But now I'm actually pointing. Can you see that the Benson Notes on Windows folder is highlighted? So it doesn't offer me the option to create a new folder anymore, but it does offer me two useful options here: delete and rename. Rename means if I click on that now, if I left click, again, left. So left click means I want to do that. Right click always means show me a menu that I can do more things. So if I left click on rename, that Benson Notes thing will highlight in blue or change color. In some of your computers, it becomes gray with a gray background. Some becomes blue background, depends on the version that you've got. And then you can retype it. Obviously, if you click delete, what's going to happen?
It'll go away.
It's going to delete that file, right? That file will be deleted, right? So that one I'm going to rename, and I can change it. You can see that see, as soon as I typed rename, you see how it changed to white. Instead of black on white, it changes to white on blue, right? And that means I can retype it, or I can just move my cursor up and down and correct a misspelling. If I'd left out the N in Windows, I can put my, just move to the left, from the left, move to here, type in the N, everything else will move on to the right, hit return, enter, and you're done, okay? Simple as that. Deleting the file, like I said, as you hit the delete button. Now it doesn't just delete the file. Why not? Doesn't write, if I click delete here, it doesn't just delete the file. Why not? Well, it gives you a chance to say, I made a mistake. The last thing you want to do is delete file, the 7th file, when you really wanted to delete the 6th file, right? You're pointing at the wrong file. So if you hit delete, oops, sorry, let's go back. If you hit delete, right, it's going to say to you,
are you sure?
Are you sure? Do you know what you're doing? And you say, yes, I do want to delete that file, and then it's gone, right? That's it. In actual fact, it isn't gone forever. You can recover files. So if you've ever deleted accidentally some really important file that you don't have a copy of, contact me or somebody who knows. And it's possible, not always, but in many cases, if it's not too long after you deleted the file, if you've gone on for another 3 months, that space on the disk has been reused. But if you do it right away, you can sometimes recover the file. In other words, Windows doesn't really delete it. It puts it into what they call a trash can. Puts it in a trash can, and it keeps the trash can. So you're actually still using the space for the file, but eventually it will reuse that space where the file was. Okay, so those are the primary things that you can do with the File Explorer. Now, there are literally dozens more tricks that we can do with Windows. There's it is a hugely rich piece of software. The good news is Microsoft has made it very, very easy to use, provided you know certain basic things. So if you don't know about the right click, you'll never be able to see the context menus. Once you know about the right click, you can see the context menu. If you don't know the difference between a right click and a left click, well, there's no way to sort of figure that out. So I'm telling you, the left click always is choose something. So if I put my cursor on that word delete over there where the red arrow is, and I left click, it means that's what I want to do. And Windows will say, aha, you want to delete a file? Is this actually what you want to do? And you confirm it. You say yes or no. You say no, nothing happens. If you say yes, the file's gone, right? And it will not clog up your space any longer. Are there any questions on?
Yeah, I have a question. Can folders be saved to the cloud?
Yes, yes. So the cloud, that's a very good question. The cloud, which is really just a jargon name, there's no such thing as a cloud. It's not storing it on fluffy things up in the sky, right? The cloud means I'm storing information on somebody else's computer. Usually that somebody else is Google or Apple or Microsoft, right? They all offer us free space. So you can go get a free space on Microsoft, you can get a free space on Google, you can get a free space on Apple, and a whole bunch of other people will all give you free space. It's as if your bank said to you, you can have a free safe deposit box at the bank. That would be really nice. Unfortunately, banks don't do that. You want a safe deposit box to put your stuff in, the bank charges you a fee. But Microsoft doesn't. So Microsoft might offer you space on the Microsoft cloud, and that would be exactly the same, to answer your question. So everything would be identical. You could look at the Microsoft cloud and see all your files. You won't see my files. You won't see Microsoft's file. You will see your files. In other words, your little area that they've allocated for you, that's where your files will be. And you read them, you access them, you open them, you close them in exactly the same way. Now, one more thing I want to say is, if this file folder is not a like a Windows folder that I had there, but it is one of your own folders, which is what you're normally looking at. You're not looking at the Windows folder, you're looking at your own folder. And there is a file there called, letter to so-and-so, right? I wrote a letter, okay? And then I printed it out and mailed it to them. Or I wrote a letter and then I emailed it to them. How do you access the information in that folder? And the answer is, again, extremely simple. When you look at the file folders with File Explorer, and you'll see the name of the folder, you just left click on it. Left click, right? Left click means that's what I want. So if this is now a Word document, it will have a name that you gave it. Terminated, at the end, terminated will be docx, D-O-C-X. .docx means it's a Word document. It could have .xlsx, XLSX, which is Excel spreadsheet. XLS stands for Excel spreadsheet. And if you click on it, it will go and find Excel. It will open Excel, and there will be your document. If it was a Word document, Word will open up, and you can either read the document or you can carry on editing it and changing it, whatever you happen to be doing. So I want to add as well, in the old days, which is really not that long ago, it could happen, and it certainly happened to me one time. I was working on an important report for about 4 or 5 hours, really working hard at it, and then guess what happened? The power failed. The power went out. My computer went down. Of course, when the power came back up, everything was gone. I'd lost hours and hours and hours of work. Shame on me for not saving the file. So a good habit to do is to save your file. If you're typing a document or an Excel spreadsheet or whatever it is, every now and again, every few minutes, just hit the save button. So the save button will usually be in the top left-hand corner, and you save it, it then writes it to disk, and it's permanently in the disk, okay? The good news is that Windows has become very clever, and over the past few years, it now automatically saves your document. So if you work on a document for an hour or two, you actually will only, if something disastrous happened, the power failed or your computer died or something, you may only lose the last couple of minutes, but it will have certainly saved the file for you no more than 1 or 2 minutes ago. So that's the good news. You don't really have to remember anymore to save the file. Windows will do it for you. And sometimes if you deleted the file, Windows will maintain a copy for you, right? So it's trying to prevent us from doing really stupid things, okay? There's one more thing I'd like to talk about, unless there are any questions on it. Any questions on that? So that was a really good question about the cloud. The cloud is just, as far as your Windows computer is concerned, the cloud is just another disk drive, right? It's just another disk drive. It's out there. It will find that drive for you, that virtual drive, we call it. It's not a real disk on your computer. It's out there, might be in Seattle on Microsoft's computer, or it might be in California on Google or Apple's computer, or it might be in downtown Atlanta on some other computer. I don't actually care. The system will find that file for you and will show you your space. So a good way to store your information, this is probably a good time to talk about it. Can you please, is somebody with backup? Can you mute your phone, please? There's some background noise coming from someone. I mean, mute your computer. Thank you. I lost my train of thought. What was I saying? Okay, so if you store
files in the cloud, the
right,
files in the cloud are stored in Atlanta.
So there are ways to store information perfectly free on the cloud. And like I say, you can use Microsoft, Google, whatever. One that I really like, and you might all want to write this down, there's a company called Dropbox, D-R-O-P-B-O-X, Dropbox. And Dropbox will give you cloud storage for free, certain amount of it, probably more than you'll ever need. But you can also pay a few dollars a month and get even more. But their free storage is probably good enough for most people. And you can store any of your files in Dropbox. So Dropbox is a very good feature. It's a company called Dropbox, which is obviously doing very well now that everybody's at home and got lots of files and so forth. Store your files on your local computer, because that's ideally what you want. You want your files right near you on your laptop, and if you move your laptop, the files come with you. But as a backup, Dropbox is really, really good. Dropbox also has another very useful facility in it. Dropbox will allow you to share that file with someone else. So suppose I have some sensitive file, my medical records, and I want to share them with my doctor, let's say, or a member of my family. But I don't want to email it to them. Why not? Why would I not just email it to them? Well, it's got sensitive information in, and somebody who shouldn't see it might see it, right? I don't want just anybody to see my medical information, especially if I'm sharing it with my doctor. So one way to do this is to put it into Dropbox and then allow that file to be shared only by somebody that you name. So you can give their email address, and then they will get an email from you, or purporting to come from you. It actually comes from Dropbox, saying, you, whoever you are, your name, has shared a file, and all you have to do is click on this link, and it will provide your doctor with a link. He or she clicks on the link, and they can read the file. Let's say it's a Word document, maybe a report from another doctor, or a PDF file that you got when you went to the hospital that they did tests on you. You can now share that file with your doctor or with another person very securely. So the only person who can actually then get access to that file is the person who has access to that email address, which is, you know, pretty good enough security for most of us. Not good enough security for military grade stuff, but certainly good enough to store financial information, share financial information with your CPA, or financial information with your tax preparers, or healthcare information with a doctor or a hospital or whatever. So Dropbox is very good, and Dropbox looks exactly the same as File Explorer. So on Dropbox, you can have folders. You can call it folder A, folder B, folder C, folder D, put them in whatever you like in there. You can share the whole folder with somebody. So let's say I've got 10 medical reports in a folder called Medical Report. I can share the whole folder with Dr. Smith, or just one file. That's it, my choice. But Dr. Smith doesn't get to see the other folder. So if I share folder medical details with Dr. Smith, he or she can see all those files. or maybe just one file. But he or she cannot see my file called financial information, because my doctor doesn't have to know financial details, right, in general. So that's your choice, and Dropbox is a very simple, elegant way, I think, to do it. There are other competitors to Dropbox. There's one called Box, not Dropbox, as Box, and they're all much of a muchness. There are ones that offer you greater security and more encryption of files and so on, but most of us really don't need that. You know, our information, we just want it confidential information to remain confidential, but we don't need military grade security. So I would suggest everybody gets a Dropbox account. It's free, doesn't cost you anything. You give them your email address, you create a password so only you can get to it, right? Don't lose the password, of course. And you can store as many or as few folders there as you like. So I have a Dropbox account. I certainly don't store all my information there. It would take too much time. I've got thousands of files, but the ones that I want, that I never want to lose, they're so important that I don't want them to lose, even if my whole computer dies, or my computer, worse, say my computer got stolen, right? I've lost all the files on it. But if I put them in Dropbox, I can go to a new computer, get a new computer, or go to a different computer, and I would still have access to my files using very similar technology to File Explorer to be able to see my files. Does that make sense?
Jeff,
Yeah.
I have a question.
Mhm.
So if you have a document
Mhm.
and you do a save as,
Right.
will the Dropbox come up as an option? Or how do you save to the Dropbox is what I'm trying to get at.
Okay, that's a good question. I think there is an option to include Dropbox in, you know, in Word, so that it will save there. I'd have to check it out. I don't use it. I think there's an option, but if there isn't, you just save it to your normal drive, right? And then when you finished, or at the end of the day, or when you finish typing the document, you can then just go to Dropbox and you can upload it to Dropbox. So Dropbox has a simple button there that says upload files. Upload means bring them from your computer, upload them up into the cloud. So, you know, the concept is the same, upload it, right? Download means when it sends it back to you, but upload it into the cloud. So you just say, I want to upload files onto Dropbox. So you, in your browser, so Dropbox is on the browser, right? You can get to Dropbox from anywhere, from a different computer, doesn't matter. You go to dropbox.com, you log into your account with your user ID and your password, make sure you remember them. And then you say, I want to upload a file from my computer. And Dropbox says, okay, tell me which file. And you go and find the file in File Explorer and you click on it and Dropbox will copy it up into the cloud. So
Okay, great.
I think there is an option that came out a year or two ago, which I don't actually use, but I think there's an option to include Dropbox into Word and Excel, so that one of the options is the C drive, or whatever the Dropbox is, the X drive. Dropbox would become another disk drive, K, L, M, N, it'll give it a letter, and you could save it up there, and then it works exactly the same as your C drive. Good
Okay, another question.
Yeah,
Okay,
go ahead.
if you delete a file,
Mm-hmm.
does it go into the recycle bin?
If you really delete the file, it goes into the recycle bin, the trash can.
Okay, and how long will it stay in the recycle bin? Until I delete it, or?
That's dependent on the operating system. It will either stay there forever, or if Windows starts to run out of space on your computer, it will start reusing the space where the files are in the recycle bin. But most of us, our computers today have so much storage, 160 gigabytes, 500 gigabytes, just huge amounts of storage that you almost never ever will get there. And so the answer to your question is it will stay in the recycle bin forever.
Okay, is it ever a good time to delete files in the recycle bin?
Good question too. Entirely depends on how much space you have on your computer. So, if you have, I don't know, let's say 128 gigabytes, and you've used 60 gigabytes, so you've got more than 60 left, don't bother. You've got so much space, it doesn't make any difference, right?
Okay.
If you have 128 gigabytes and you only have 2 left, it's starting to get a little crowded, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mostly I don't bother. But how can I see what's in the recycle bin, in the trash can? Well, on your desktop, you will actually see a little icon that says recycle bin. It looks like a little trash can. And if you click on that, it will open up Window Explorer and you'll be able to look into the trash can and see it. And you'll see all your files that you deleted yesterday, the day before, last week, last month, and going back, right? Mostly, it's not worth the trouble to delete the space there. Mostly, it's not. Just like I say, mostly, it's not worth the trouble to turn your computer off, right? So even if you're not using your computer, you've gone to bed, you can leave it running. It doesn't make any difference. What one would do with a laptop is just close the lid. When you close the lid, Windows automatically detects that you've closed the lid, and it kind of puts the whole thing to sleep. But when you come in the morning and you open the lid again, it will open up. You have to log in and give it your ID and password again, obviously, and then you'll be right back to where you were. So I mostly don't even close files out or anything like that, right? Sometimes might have 10 Word documents open. It doesn't matter, right? You've got plenty of space, and you know, within reason, you don't want to keep 100 documents open. It'll be hard to find your way through. But if you want to keep 10 things open or 12 things open, doesn't matter. Same with if you're in your browser. So in your browser, you're in Chrome or Firefox, whichever browser you use, doesn't matter. You can have 10 little tabs open. So, when you're in your browser, that's one program you've opened, but it can have multiple tabs. And each tab at the top, like tabs on file folders, is a site that you went to. So it could be Fox News, CNN, the BBC, Amazon, whatever, right? Each one of those, you don't have to close them out. Doesn't cost anything, leave them open. When you've got too many open, because they'll start, clogging up at the top, each one has a little X on it, on the name of the folder. Right next to it is a little X. You click on the little X and it goes away, and that's that, right? But you don't need to do that in order to speed up the computer or anything. It isn't going to make any difference at all to Windows. Windows is so powerful, and as long as you have enough storage, you have enough disk space, it doesn't really care whether you've got one document open, 20 documents open, 5 tabs in the browser, or 25 tabs in the browser. It makes absolutely no difference to Windows. So, much of the advice people will often give is, basically not accurate and not based on fact. Is, whether you need to turn off your device, whether you need to close out files and so on. You don't need to waste much time. Now, as I showed you, you remember, at the bottom of your screen is the bar, the useful bar, the action bar, which shows you all of the programs that you normally use, right? So can you see that at the bottom of my screen? Do you guys see that? Or do you just see?
No.
You don't see the bottom line. I didn't think so. So my bottom line, on the bottom line, everybody have, so right at the bottom of your screen, on the bottom of your screen, there will be a black bar, and on it you can have icons, pictures, right, which are apps. Now, every time you use an app, if you click on a Word document or you open Microsoft Word, the Word icon will appear on the bottom. Now, when you close Word out, the icon will disappear. But I'm a lazy guy and I don't like keeping looking for Word. So all you have to do is you point at that icon, point your cursor at that icon, and now I need a context menu, because I want to tell it, keep this icon. Don't move it when don't get rid of it when I close Word out. How do we get a context menu? Right click, remember?
Right click.
So I right click, I literally pointed any one of them. I can't show it to you now because Zoom is a little tricky and it kind of gets completely confused when you try to change programs too much. They've still got a few ways to go. But if you just point at one of that icon, right click, a little menu will pop up. And one of the options of that menu, in that little teeny weeny menu, it's only got about 3 or 4 things in it, will be pin this icon or this app to the taskbar. That's called the taskbar at the bottom. And pin it means you kind of like you're sticking a pin in, you know, in putting a picture in on a corkboard. And even when you close out Word or Excel or your email, whatever it might be, it will stay there. So at the bottom of my screen, I've got an icon for Zoom, which I use all the time. I've got an icon for my email. I've got an icon for PowerPoint, which is what we're using now. I've got an icon for Windows Explorer, because I'm always looking at files. And I've got an icon for Chrome, for my browser. So they're all sitting there. And even though I haven't used Chrome for 3 days, I can find Chrome in an instant now. Because Chrome's little picture, you know, it's little, Chrome is a little circle with 4 colors on, you know that, I've showed you that before. All of Google stuff has got those 4 colors. So the 4 colors of the Chrome, or it could be a different browser, for example, Firefox, Mozilla Firefox, which has a slightly different icon. Those are stuck on my bottom line, on my taskbar. And so I can, all I have to do now, if I wanted to go to Chrome, even though I haven't used it for any number of days, is just double click on that icon at the bottom. If Chrome, I closed it out last time. Last time I closed out Chrome, I went to the top right-hand corner. So the way we close out apps in Windows is in the far top right-hand corner, there's a little X. If you click on that X, that means it's like a scissors. Snip it out, it's gone. So even if I closed it out, when I click on Chrome, she'll automatically reopen. If I haven't closed Chrome out, or I haven't closed out my email, it will just take me to exactly where I was last time. So right now, if I click, I can see the little icon for my email. I can click on it and it'll open it up and it'll take me right back to where I was last time, whether I was working on a new email or reading an email or whatever I was doing last time, it will open up. And I just leave it like that all the time, right? I leave it like that, and you know, it's just the lazy man's way of doing things, right? So I don't have to ever look for program. Once you've used every program a few times, you know which ones you want at the bottom. It's like the ones on the bottom of your phone. The 4 or 5 icons on the bottom of your phone are the ones you use regularly. But Windows, if you've got a Windows laptop, there's got much more space. So instead of just having 3 or 4 or 5, you can have as many as you like, right? In fact, it's got a whole line of about up to, I don't know, 30 or something. And then if you need more, it will go to a second line. It's got like 2 or 3 lines. You can't see the second or third line unless you use them, and you can scroll up and down. But for most of us, you don't need the second line. So that's another useful trick of how to work effectively with Windows. Any other thoughts? So remember now, we now know how to work with different programs. It can be your Word document, it could be a spreadsheet, it could be a text message, whatever you like, how to copy information from one to the other, which is often very, very useful. You look at a very nice item on being sold, maybe it's on sale at Amazon, and you can click out, you can cut out, I'll show you how to do that in a second as well, we'll talk about that too. You can cut out a section of text or a section of text with pictures, and then copy that by copying it to the clipboard and pasting it back. You can put it into a Word document, you can put it into an email, you can put it in a text message, whatever, just by using that very useful feature called the clipboard. We did speak about it, but I want to talk to you again about it, is how do you tell Windows what you want to save in the clipboard? Who remembers?
Sure.
Let's say here I wanted to take this top line, right click on the file or folder's name. For some reason, I wanted to send that in an email to somebody else. How would I tell Windows I want to save that line and not the other lines?
Highlight it.
Oh, you have
You've
to,
got to highlight it.
C.
Right. So
Control
you
C.
put your cursor on the left, right? And you just hold down the left mouse, hold down the left mouse button, and just drag it across. You can drag it all the way across to the end, or you can stop in the middle, or you can start it in the middle here. You can, let's say I just want to copy the word file for whatever reason. I can put my cursor right here in front of the F, drag it, highlight it from until the E, stop at the E, and then Control C will put it up into the clipboard, and I can bring it back somewhere else. But there's another way as well, and let me tell you that one, and then I think we're going to end off because it's getting a bit much now. A great way to take a picture, so to speak, of any part of the page, and this isn't very well known either, but this is a really useful trick. If you look on your keyboard at the top, about 6 keys in from the right, you will see, it depends on your keyboard. Some it's the 3rd from the right, some it's the 6th from the right, depending whether you have a numeric pad or not. There's a key that says print screen. Does everybody see it? It either says print, P-R-I-N-T, screen, S-C-R-N, or if it's smaller, it sometimes says P-R-T-S-C, right? Press that key. So that key used to be in the old days for printing the screen. If you wanted to, whatever was on your screen, you could print it out. But mostly today, we don't need to do that because we've got much better printing facilities. So they repurposed that. It's still called print screen. But if you press that key, suddenly your screen will change color. It'll become slightly gray, right? And now, using your left mouse button, now watch what I'm doing on the screen with my cursor. Let's say I just wanted to copy this section here with the picture in it of the context menu. See that? Can you see what if I put my cursor, now if I press print screen, if I put my cursor right over there and drag it down at an angle down to here, all of that will be highlighted now. And now if I let go my left mouse button and I say Control C, that whole picture will go into the clipboard. And now I can put it into another document or an Excel spreadsheet or a Word document or whatever. So if, let's say this was an Amazon page and there's a really cool pair of shoes or something, right? And I just want a picture of the shoes. I want to send it to somebody, show them the cool shoes that are on sale on Amazon today. Go to the right page on Amazon, so it's up on your screen. Press print screen. Put your cursor somewhere in the top left-hand corner of wherever that picture is and drag it to the bottom right-hand corner. And just that part of the screen will change color. And now when you say Control C, that picture, just that little piece of the screen, not the whole screen, just that piece that I wanted, will go to the clipboard and you can paste it into another document. So for example, I have a friend overseas in another country and he needed a piece of equipment that he can't get there. So I went to Amazon, I found it, and I just literally did exactly what I've said to you. I pressed print screen, took a picture of it, pulled out that picture. In other words, I highlighted it and then I pulled it out, put it in the clipboard, put it in an email to him, and I said, "Is this what you want?" And he could see the picture and he said, "Yeah, that's what I want." And I bought it for him and now I'm going to send it to him. So very, very useful feature indeed, right? The print screen. So the print screen is a special kind of highlighting, right? You can use it on text too. If you wanted, if I press print screen right now, I could then use it to highlight this bullet and that bullet, the first 2 bullets. I put my cursor here by the bullet or by the R and drag it down all the way to maybe the word rename. That would all change color and I could then show it to somebody. But it will be a picture now, not text. So if I just do the regular way of highlighting, put your cursor there and left click and drag it across, it will actually copy the text. You can then put in a Word document and you can edit the text. You can change it. If you copy it using the print screen option, that creates a picture as if you took a photograph of the screen. So it's exactly the same as if you took your camera, you focused it on a small portion of the screen and took a picture. You'd have a photograph now of whatever was on the screen. And so print screen allows you essentially to take a photograph of any portion of the screen you want, as big or as small as you like. Okay, very useful. Any thoughts on that? Any use? By the way, last point, this has only been true for a relatively short time, maybe about a year. If you use one of the text messaging systems on your phone, for example, Skype or WhatsApp, anybody use those to send text messages? Anybody? There's an app, a very useful app for your phone called WhatsApp, WhatsApp, WhatsApp.
Yes.
And you can use that to text anybody or your children, your friends, whatever, anybody who's got a phone. It's actually what most people don't know is you can actually do it on your PC. So you can you can download WhatsApp onto your PC, right? And you can now text from your PC. The only thing it needs is that your phone has to be nearby. In other words, it still does it through the phone, but your PC talks to your phone wirelessly, right? You don't even know what's going on. So you can download WhatsApp or Skype or one of those, any of those, on your PC. It's now an icon that appears at the bottom of the screen. So if I want to send a text to this guy in this other country, I've got WhatsApp at the bottom of my screen. I see the little icon. I just click on it, pops up, WhatsApp. I click on his name, and I can send him a text. Somebody's needs to be muted, please. There we go. Thank you. So that's very useful. It's quite a new feature. I find it very useful indeed. So, you know, if like most people, you spend a lot of time on your PC, instead of having to jump from the PC to the phone and back, you can text things directly from your PC. So that's where it's very useful to be able to copy some information, whether it's from a Word document or a web page like Amazon, and then you can literally just Control-V, paste it back into WhatsApp. So when you click on the WhatsApp, it pops up, the icon, the little screen pops up. There's a little bar there for you to type your messages in. If you put your cursor there and you say Control-V, it brings it back from where does it bring it back from? When I type Control-V, where does it come back from?
Clipboard.
The clipboard, very good. You get an A. It brings it back from the clipboard. And it could go into WhatsApp, and then I press the button and say send, and it'll send it to somebody in England or Australia or whoever knows where, right? Anywhere on the planet, right? So that's very useful. So now the phone and the computer, the Windows computer and your phone are becoming closer and closer together, right? So using copy and paste, knowing how to use Windows Explorer, and then useful tricks like Dropbox and WhatsApp or Skype or any of the others, your PC and your phone now are coming together, right? So you can make phone calls on your PC, but you can't text from your PC. In fact, you can make phone calls from your PC. Who knows how to do a phone call from your PC? Or from your phone, but without using the phone, right? Is you use items like WhatsApp. So WhatsApp has got a button that will allow you to actually call that person for free, right? Because it's on the internet. So even if that person's in Canada, California, England, France, Germany, South Africa, Australia, it doesn't matter. You can make a call using the internet through WhatsApp or Skype or one of those for free, right? Now you can do it essentially from your PC and from your phone. Okay, I think if there are any more questions, I'm pretty much all talked out. I'm sure you've heard enough. I'm happy to take more questions. If there's anybody who didn't get the slides, please send me an email. Pearlie, were you asking me a question? But you're muted.
Yeah.
You have to unmute.
I have a question.
I didn't get the email.
It's on the very, I gave it to, I've given it out each time for the last 2 weeks. It is on, just a minute. No, they don't have that anymore. They won't allow me to do it. Okay, I'll just read it out to you. It's my name, Jeff, Jeff, underscore, the underscore character, Kalverisky, KALWERISKY, S as in Sam, at earthlink.net.
I've done that 3 times.
Well, I haven't got it.
Okay.
Maybe you're misspelling it. Check carefully that you spelled it correctly, because if you leave out one of the letters in the name, it doesn't work. You can also try, I have another email, try this one if you wish, Jeff, Jeff, period, dot, Kalverisky, KALWERISKY at gmail.com. One of those two will get to me and I will respond. Everybody else who has responded has got a copy of the slides. So I apologize if for some reason it hasn't reached me, but I check that frequently every day to make sure that I'm on top of people who want it. So everybody can have these notes, and it'll also have that same email address you can use at any time to ask me questions. If you have a question, you get into trouble in any way, ask me. Remember also, I guess, very last thing, if you get into some odd situation where you don't really know where you are, the escape key is often a very useful thing. That escape key in the top left-hand corner, if you press that, very often will get you out of sticky situation. If you've got a context menu like this that's popped up and you don't know what the heck it is, you don't know how it got there, just hit the escape key and it'll go away, right? And by the way, does everybody remember how to see your clipboard if you want to see what's in the clipboard? Remember, Windows key, the one second from the left on the bottom row, Windows key, and at the same time, the letter V, V as in Victor. So Windows key V will bring up what is in the clipboard for you, and you can look at your clipboard and you can select items. You don't have to just bring back what you just copied. You can bring back something that you copied yesterday or the day before or 3 weeks ago. Okay, any more questions?
Yes, I keep losing the information out of my calendar on my smartphone. I'll go back in and a lot of days are missing. Is there some kind of way I can save? I save it and it still comes out missing.
Well, what calendar are you using? Using the Google Calendar?
Yeah, Hotmail. I was using Hotmail. Either one I lose. Hotmail.
Yeah, some of them allow you to synchronize your calendar. Say, for example, on my computer, I use Microsoft Outlook, right? And there's a way to synchronize that calendar with the Google Calendar. And so my Google Calendar, which appears in Gmail, but also can be on my Android phone, it will synchronize them all together. But not every possible calendar, because unfortunately there's so many of them, is necessarily synchronizable. So you know what the easiest thing to do is? When you put an entry in your calendar on your phone, just go put it in your calendar on the PC. For example, Gmail. If you don't have a Gmail address, get yourself an Gmail address. It's absolutely free. And use it perhaps just only for the calendar, right? So
I have a Gmail address too.
Then Gmail will have a calendar for you. And, at the cost of retyping it, you put it in, it's on your phone, but you just need to, retype it, Wednesday, 2 p.m. appointment with Dr. Jones, it takes you a minute to do that.
Okay.
That's often easier to do than try and fight your way through trying to get different pieces of software to talk to each other. They often don't do that. And for example, you don't even really need to retype it because, as I've showed you, you can highlight it, copy it, and then go to your other program, which is, let's say, Gmail, Control V, and it'll bring it down. You don't have to retype it. But in most cases, if you're talking about a calendar entry, it's a few words. Appointment with Dr. Smith, or, do this, go shopping, grocery shopping on Thursday at 9 o'clock. It's just a few words. It's just as easy to type it as to do anything else. That's the low-tech way.
Okay.
Sure. Any other questions? Okay, like I say, thank you very much for attending, guys. It's been a great pleasure. I hope you've learned something. Remember that this is just, 10% of perhaps of what Windows can do. But I think, in my humble opinion, the useful 10%. So everything that I've showed you in the last several weeks, I use every day, every single day. I'll be using the copy, I'll be using File Explorer and so on. I'll be using print screen, all of those kind of things. So they're very, very useful indeed. But if you really want to know more, either we need to set up a more advanced course or buy yourself a book on Windows. There are plenty of books out there. I think one of the best ones is Windows for Dummies. All those books for dummies are actually very good. They're not for dummies at all. They're just for ordinary people, but they're written in very simple, non-technical language. You can get a copy of Windows for Dummies, and that will have just oodles and oodles of stuff. There's just information that goes on forever, how to arrange your photographs, how to edit photographs, how to make phone calls using Skype or WhatsApp, and so on and so on and so on and so on. Just many, many levels of Windows. Thanks very much. I hope it was of value.
Thank you.
My pleasure. And don't hesitate to email me if you have a question or you get into trouble or you're not sure of something.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you so
Bye.
much. Bye-bye.
Stay healthy, guys.
You too.
Keep away from those viruses.